Welcome to Fit Facts. On today's episode, we have me, Brandon. We got Gabe over here, and we're going to talk about something a little controversial, but a lot of you have to hear about it. All right? It is why getting a six-pack is not worth it.
It's not?
For most people.
For most people.
For most people, all right, for most people.
Why getting a six-pack isn't worth it for most people?
For most people.
Yeah, no, I mean, Brandon, as we know, most people just can't simply sustain the type of physique that will have you having a six-pack. So that's going to be a lower body fat percentage, typically somewhere between, maybe 8 to as high as 14% body fat. But if you really want those bullet six-packs, those really, I don't know what the word is, those
implants.
The implant-looking six-pack, you're going to need to get pretty lean. And for most people, that's just not going to be attainable. There's something called a body fat set point range. And what that means is that everybody has a certain body fat that just naturally, based on their genetics, they're going to feel the healthiest and the best at. Now, for me, I think that's probably somewhere between 12 to 16%. That's where I feel healthy. I feel good. I'm not overweight. I'm not underweight. But I know some people who are a lot leaner and they can still feel good. So I know there's some people I work with at the gym and they're, hovering usually around like 6 to 8% and they feel great, but most people aren't like that. Brandon, what would you say you are? Do you feel like you tend to feel better when you're kind of in between, when you're more lean? What's that like?
I would say probably in between.
Yeah.
Maybe like not when visible abs are showing. I feel a little more healthier, like quality of life is better. We'll get into that. And then I feel like I'll have more energy. So
yeah.
I do feel like I can sustain something a little more above, like maybe like 15,
totally.
16.
And I think that's where most people feel the healthiest. Most males, 15 to 20%. Females, higher in the 20s. But everyone has that body fat set point range. And it's really hard sometimes to realize that because we look at most of the influencers we see on like Instagram, all these different social medias, and we just see them, they're shredded. They look crazy jacked year round. And we don't take into account these multiple factors that, most of these influencers have the best genetics. Like these are genetic outliers. These are people that you don't even see these people walking down the street every day. Like these are rarities. Also, a lot of them use PEDs. Like a lot of them are on steroids or different anabolic substances, and these are going to help you, obviously build more muscle, but also stay leaner, easier. And on top of all that, a lot of them don't even stay lean all year round. A lot of them will shoot and backlog a bunch of content, and then you see them posting this picture of them like at the beach, shredded, looking great, enjoying a Mai Tai. Or like, how do you do that? It's like, well, actually, right now, when they posted that, they have gained weight because they can't sustain that all year round.
It's a marketing method.
It's a marketing method.
You gotta look at those pictures and be like, oh, it's a marketing method. He was probably taking this picture when he was at his leanest. He's probably like not like super obese right after, but he's still like keeping it up, but it's not as perfect as that picture in the present moment.
100%, and they'll even talk about it. It's not something they're super outspoken a lot, but a lot of them, it's known in the fitness community that, you're not sustaining that all year round. And the ones who are, like, there's this guy on Instagram named Joe Stetics, and he's very genuine. He talks very openly about how he is essentially, to some extent, miserable all the time because he is shredded. He looks great, but he just can't eat as much food as he likes. So he just doesn't feel the best all the time. So there's so many factors that people don't realize that, maybe somebody who's naturally a little more lean can have that six-pack and maintain that, but most people cannot, and that just is not going to be worth it for most people, in my opinion.
Exactly, and that's why that first reason of why six-pack is not worth it is because it's not as sustainable, like what Gabe said. And now the second reason is because this restriction, most people, let's back up here. Most people with six-packs, they have to diet so hard that they might form a unhealthy relationship with food, and it could lead to restrictive behaviors or even food obsessions like binging and eating, feeling guilty, and all of that stuff. Like you really have to track those calories like pretty much every day in order to maintain it, right?
Yeah, I mean when you're getting to those lower body fat percentages, like we said, some people they can maintain that pretty easily, but for most people you have to be very dialed in. You have to be taking into account the amount of protein you're eating, your macros, your overall calorie intake. And if you deviate even by, let's say you eat over like 1,000 calories in one day, that's going to have a significant impact on how you look.
Exactly.
You're going to look a lot different, and that can mess with your head when you're getting lean and
Yeah.
you eat a little too much, and then you're like, now I'm like looking in the mirror, and you still look great, but you can see such a difference at those, the minutia stands out more. So now you're like, I'm holding more water, and it can start to consume some people's minds, and people can get obsessive with it.
Yeah, and those restrictive behaviors could even seep out to like other stuff in like your lifestyle, as in like maybe since you're restricting so much with eating, maybe at work you'll be super impulsive with like making decisions or like whatever work you do, or like in your relationships you'll be super impulsive with your friends, with your partner, significant other.
Yeah.
So I know like restricting one part in your life kind of leads to stuff like that, which leads to pretty much a lower quality of life.
100%. And speaking of that lower quality of life, I mean, your energy levels, as you get leaner, for everyone it's a different point. But for me, recently I decided, okay, I want the six-pack. It's worth it to me. I want to try. And I started reducing body fat. I probably started like 17, 18% body fat. So I had a good amount of body fat on me, but by no means overweight. And I started dieting, and I just felt good, honestly. I was just eating better quality foods, slightly reducing my calories. But then I got to the point where I started entering maybe 12% body fat. Yeah. And I just noticed, okay, this isn't horrible, but I am thinking about food a little bit throughout the day. My hunger's a little more substantial. And then when I got to maybe 10 or 11%, I started to notice, okay, now my energy's feeling lower. I'm a little more irritable, actually. My girlfriend's like pissing me off for no reason. She's like, hey, babe, how are you doing? I'm like, don't talk to me like that. Just like getting mad for no reason. So for me, I was like, okay, right now I have, a light six-pack. You can see visible abs, but it really wasn't too, stark. But I was like, this is lean enough for me. I actually am going to gain a little weight right now. I'm okay with gaining some body fat because I just feel better being a little heavier.
Exactly. And, just be okay with it.
Yeah.
Accept it.
Because a lot of different things come into play. Like people's energy levels obviously will crash. Libido, like when you get really lean, staged lean, bodybuilders sometimes females will lose their menstrual cycle. And your cognitive function might get a little worse. You're not going to have just feels good. So I mean, it's different for everyone, but you need to understand these things so that this might be something you encounter along the way.
Exactly. Like right now, I'm actually working with someone who tracks my calories, and because my goal with him was that I want to get shredded as fuck.
Yeah, you wanted to go to an extreme.
Yeah, I wanted to go to extreme. Like I knew what I was stepping into because I've had friends that competed in physique competitions, and I've like back in college I would research all about that shit, but I never actually competed. And right now I'm not going to compete at all, but I just want to test my body, test my limits, because I've never really had a six-pack because I grew up as being a chubby kid kind of. So right now I'm looking pretty lean, and a few weeks ago, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was probably I still am pretty lean right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was probably when I was a little more comfortable with what I was eating. But then after those 3 weeks, which was 2 weeks before right now, I started feeling super tired. I would have to stack a bunch of clients back to back just so I wouldn't have any downtime. Because if I start having downtime, that's when my energy levels just drop. And also it'll help. It kind of makes me crave something if I have downtime.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I started stacking a bunch of clients. So I literally had to change my whole schedule and my lifestyle just so I could sustain this low-calorie diet.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't recommend it for everyone. I knew what I was getting into.
But essentially you're saying you're restructuring your whole entire life around being able to help you eat less food.
Eat less food and also move more because my coach wanted me to do cardio in the morning and then do it later at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So it was 25 minutes in the morning or 20 minutes in the morning and then 15 minutes in the evening. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, goddamn. So I literally had to be in the gym. I was literally in the gym because I work in a gym for 12 hours a day. Yep.
And now you're for yourself, okay, I'm going to get really lean and then I'm going to allow myself to gain weight because you're not going to be, you don't want to sustain that.
Yeah,
it's just not worth it. But you're aware of that and you've accepted that.
Yeah, I was aware of it, especially when I had my first consultation with him. I was like, yo, you know what? Screw it. I'll do it. I'll do whatever it takes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I kind of was at peace that after this is over, I'll be like, okay, I know I won't be able to sustain this leanness as much, but I'll be happy with my results and maybe I'll be able to build from there.
Yeah.
So I am excited to start building some muscle right after this phase, hopefully.
And that's another thing too.
Yep.
People don't really always understand is when you're dieting, when you're getting that lean, your body's going to be catabolic.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be in that build phase, in that recover phase. So when you're lifting weights, your goal is actually going to be to try to lose the least amount of muscle that you will lose.
Exactly.
But unless you're a super undertrained novice lifter, you're not going to gain muscle when you're losing weight and getting really lean. And if you're maintaining a super lean physique, you're not going to be able to maximize your ability to gain muscle either.
Muscle, exactly.
So that's something people don't always take into account. So that's point number 4, is you're going to be weaker at lower body fats and you're going to be catabolic. You're not going to be in that building and recovering phase.
Exactly. Like right now, I'm not doing any 5x5s. Honestly, I feel like I definitely did get weaker a little, which is normal. I accepted it. My coach told me, it's like, hey, you're probably not going to be able to like do 135 or 45s on each side for bench press for like more than 10, 12 reps. And I was like,
Sure.
you know what, you're right. I wasn't able to do it.
What I will say is it's easier to gain strength when you're losing weight than it is to gain muscle. Like if you're losing weight, you're almost never going to be putting on muscle.
That's true, yeah.
With some exceptions.
Yeah.
You can get stronger when you're losing weight, but you're not going to be getting as stronger as you could if you were at maintenance or in a slight surplus.
Yeah, exactly. Because I know like a lot of people, when like a lot of my clients, first-time clients, they're like, oh, I want that six-pack. I want to lean out and build a lot of muscle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, so you want a six-pack and build muscle? I'm like, oof. Hey, choose one or the other.
Yeah, one or the other.
One or the other, kid.
There's this saying I like where it's like for natural lifters, it's you can either be big or you can be lean. You're probably not going to be both at the same time.
Exactly, yeah.
For most
Especially
people.
if you're just starting out. I'm like, the best way to start out, obviously, is going to be the muscle building route, just so you can have some abs to show. Yeah, then you're going to have to phase out into other stuff. But
That's definitely one thing I experienced when I was more lean, though. I was like, like throughout the day with a t-shirt on, I'm like, feeling kind of small.
Right,
But
exactly. Right now I feel pretty small.
You take the t-shirt off, you get a pump, you have good lighting, and that's what a lot of the people on Instagram do. They take, their measurements are down. They're a smaller human being, but when you see all the defined shapes and they have the perfect lighting, they look great. They look awesome.
Yeah.
But that's something that a lot of competitors and people who are like really getting into that nitty gritty of dieting will experience is it'll start messing with their head a little bit. Because, maybe not to the average person, but to people like us who we really care about our progress in the gym, we do sometimes err on the side of being a little too self-critical with our bodies. So we'll think, okay, I'm feeling smaller right now. And that stuff can affect your head to different degrees. Like, I don't think for us it's gone to a problematic level, but definitely there's some people out there with, body dysmorphia where it really affects their self-image. So if you're a person who you feel like you might be prone to some disordered eating or some self-image issues, then that's another kind of point against getting super lean.
Exactly, and that's why like our fifth tip is you want getting a six-pack to be like more of a personal choice unless you're competing, of course, because you do need a six-pack.
Well, that should be a personal choice.
Yeah,
too,
yeah,
though.
that's
you should know, like, should I compete?
Exactly, yeah. Because I know when you go into a competition, it will, especially if it's your first exposure to some kind of workout, it will either like set the tone for how you will feel with exercise, your body, and your food, and the food you eat in the future.
Yeah, and like I know, like on the Mind Pump podcast, which we listen to a lot, they usually talk about how like most people who compete in physique sports, bodybuilding, not all of them, but most of them will develop some level of obsessiveness that can oftentimes lead towards unhealthy. So we're not even talking about competing. We're just talking about simply just getting a six-pack, getting to that level of leanness, and like. For most people, it's just not worth it. Now, I'm not saying don't be lean. Like, you can have a lean, healthy physique where you look good, but just having, like, if you want to be really shredded, it's probably not worth it for you. It might be. Take all these factors into account, learn more about your body, and make that personal choice for yourself. Just know all the different things before you go into this. But, because it's like in the future, I might decide to do the same thing as Brandon. I might really want to test my body, see what I can do, and get really lean. And then I'll know. I'll say, I know I'm going to deal with all these things.
Yep.
I might have certain issues arise, and is it worth it for me? And I can stop at any time, too.
Exactly. I could have stopped any time.
Yeah, but you made that commitment to yourself, which I respect. You said, I'm going to do it, and that's that.
Exactly.
And that takes a lot of discipline.
Yeah, and I like how my coach was all like, hey, once you get through this, you'll be like, oh, I've gone through this hard-ass phase of, like, working out. You can get through anything in life. So I'm like, you know what? This is more of, like, a mental thing at this point. It's like I don't really want to. I mean, I'm down to show off my body, but it's not the goal of like, oh, here, everyone, look at my six pack.
Brandon Pascual, 2022. I'm down to show off my body.
I'm down to show off my body, but it's not like
that's for the thumbnail for this.
Oh, no,
you flexing.
Maybe we'll put it when I get the because I take the pictures on Friday. So
Okay.
I'll post that as a thumbnail. Well, we'll see. We'll see. People listen, watching on YouTube.
They're excited. They're waiting with bated breath right now.
Exactly. But yeah, my main goal was just to like kind of test my limits because as a personal trainer, like early in my career, I was never really able to like get a six pack. So I hired someone outside and was like, all right, you know what? I'll test my body, but I'll be because I already feel like I have a healthy relationship with food and working out. So I'll test my body, and then whatever happens. If I fuck up, I'll grow from there.
Exactly.
So, just to summarize, why getting a six pack isn't worth it. It's not really sustainable. It can lead to restrictive behaviors and food obsessions. Energy levels, libido, cognitive function. Oh, it's not going to be good.
It's not.
It's not. You're going to be weak as fuck in the gym. Probably won't be able to build that much muscle. It'll make it look like you have a lot of muscle because you lost some body fat, right? And then the fifth one, it's more of a personal choice.
Exactly.
Yep.
So don't let us tell you what to do. Just take this information with a grain of salt, apply it to your own life, and whatever decision you want to make, that's up to you. But just know all this information before you make the decision, because I've just seen too many times people going on like a 1,400 calorie diet. Oh, I'm gonna lose all this weight, and they feel like shit. And it's like, just know the information before you make the decision. And that's what Brandon did, and I'm excited. I know you are all excited as well to see the finished project. It's Adonis, just chiseled out of stone.
I'll put a transformation.
All right. all right. See you all in the next episode. I'm Gabe.
I'm Brandon.
And this is Fit Facts.
Woo!